Welcome, everyone. A quick note before we begin. This museum presents Japan's modern wars through a distinct lens. Many find it moving. Many others find it controversial. I'll add context as we go so you can make up your own mind. We're in the entrance hall. Look up at the Mitsubishi Zero fighter, sleek, compact, built for range and agility. It sets the tone. Technology, sacrifice, national memory. The engineering is impressive, and the human cost was immense. To the left is the C-56 steam locomotive from the Thai-Burma Railway. It represents logistics and endurance, but also the brutal labor that built the line, with prisoners of war and civilians paying a terrible price. Hardware can mesmerize. Let's keep people at the center. In the first gallery, personal effects, letters, notebooks, faded family photos. These were carried into heat, mud, and fear. Nearby, swords and uniforms emphasize honor and remembrance. That is meaningful for many families, and also why the museum draws criticism. It can frame expansion as defensive or liberating, while giving limited space to atrocities and the suffering of occupied peoples. Aviation relics, instruments, flight suits suggest the claustrophobia of flight, where seconds matter. In the naval section, large battleship models are beautifully crafted. Miniaturizing war can make it easier to look at, yet each tiny figure stands for a real person in real danger. Late war exhibits may include the Yokosuka Oka or the Kaiten human torpedo, one-way weapons. The museum often memorializes these men as heroic. A fuller history also asks why such choices became thinkable. Ideology, pressure, and the logic of a losing war. In a quieter alcove, letters and diaries speak in individual voices: hope, anxiety, duty, love. Along the upper walls are rows of portraits. For many families, they are sacred remembrance. For many neighbors in Asia, the proximity to the adjacent shrine, where all war dead are honored, including several men convicted as Class A war criminals, makes this site deeply troubling. Holding both private grief and public memory is part of visiting responsibly. You'll see panels that describe Japan's actions as driven by encirclement and resource scarcity, sometimes as liberation from Western colonial rule. That perspective is clear here. Outside these rooms, historians and survivors emphasize Nanjing, Manila, Singapore, and suffering across China, Korea, and Southeast Asia. You don't have to choose a single story. Notice what's emphasized and what's missing. Cases of medical kits, ration tins, and field radios remind us that wars are logistics as much as battles. Supply lines, clean water, medicine, and mail often decide outcomes more than a gleaming weapon. A long timeline traces conflicts from the late 19th century into the Pacific War. It can read like national destiny. Another view sees a chain of decisions, each with alternatives, each with multiplying consequences. Medals and commendations carry the weight of recognition, and the question of what, exactly, is being recognized. Back in the main hall, look again at the Zero above and the locomotive beside us. Technology and infrastructure matter only because of human life. On the home front, children's drawings, civil defense posters, and air raid hoods show how families rationed, evacuated, and feared the night sirens. Before we exit, a word on curation. This museum emphasizes sacrifice, valor, and a defensive posture. Major international historians and survivor testimonies foreground aggression, atrocities, and civilian suffering. When you reflect, try pairing images in your mind: an elegant instrument panel with a civilian portrait, a polished sword with a scorched street. Let contrast do the ethical work. As we leave, remember, museums are not neutral. They are arguments made with glass, light, and labels. This one argues for honor and national sacrifice. The wider world argues for accountability and inclusion of victims' voices. Your own memory, what you saw and felt, is the third voice. If you can, hold all three. Thank you for walking with me today.